Let's go. A little late night live stream. And I want to start off here with my guy Big Al tagging me in this this photo right here. Because look, this is so much fun. Look at this. So hopefully we will be seeing this in a few weeks. Lincoln Riley, of course, these rumors are getting insane. So yeah, of course, we're going to talk a lot about the head coach opening, Lincoln Riley, Jimbo Fisher, the pros and cons of them. Would they even make a somewhat lateral move to LSU? What about Billy Napier? What about Dave Aranda? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Garrett Nussmeier versus Max Johnson. Also, some recruiting, Le'Veon Moss. I don't think it's a big deal that Le'Veon Moss will likely not go to LSU, but I do think it's a bigger deal that he ended up going to Alabama. And then, of course, we're going to talk about our video from earlier today regarding DJ Mangas, Jake Peetz, and to an even lesser extent, Daronte Jones, because obviously Daronte's doing really, really well right now, and Jake Peetz and DJ Mangas are not. So, of course, because we have to start this live stream a little bit later, there's not going to be as many of you here, but I think you guys are going to surprise me, and I'm always open with why we have to move things around sometimes. I do some college hoops work off to the side, and it was fun. So let's see what comment are we going to start off with. Obviously, I am always looking for the first Venmo, Cash App, Super Chatter. I'm always a big believer in supporting your creators, and you guys have been such a huge blessing to me. I cannot say it enough. Roger. So I'm disappointed in two people. Okay, I'm disappointed in Roger, but at least I've gotten to meet Roger. But you guys know. Big Al, you are the reason why we are starting our live stream with this. The bottom line here is this, right? I'm not gonna lie. I hated I didn't get to see Jared this weekend. Jared is like up there. He's top 5 PHL. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Jared and Cliff are definitely in that realm, along with Big Al and pretty much everyone in here right now. But it's true. Jared is the real deal, Holyfield. And we were in the same exact area. And Jared, I really, you can say that. I was sad about it. I was like, God, I got to see all of our diehards that were actually at the game. And we had a few viewers I thought I wouldn't see. Surprised me. And I'm not going to lie. Another one of our top PHLers. I don't even know what that was in my mouth. I ate some deep dish pizza. I think it was just like a little chunk of something. I was also disappointed I didn't get to see Tony, the Master Blaster. So it's going to be great. So Lincoln Riley is 38. Billy Napier is 42. Okay, so let me start here with Lincoln Riley. As many of you know, I do have Lincoln Riley as my number one candidate. Now, the best thing to do, if you want me to talk about your candidate, once again, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat, that is obviously the best way. I will immediately talk about your candidate, right? I'm starting to see some ridiculous ones, like Josh McDaniels already in the chat. I'll give you my thoughts on that because I don't want to spend too much time on Josh McDaniels. But if you do Super Chat, I will happily talk about Josh McDaniels. I'll start off with this with Lincoln Riley, okay? Yes, Dave Aranda is his kryptonite, but it's only Dave Aranda, right? So Dave Aranda beat him in the playoffs. Dave Aranda is the only Big 12 coach to hold Lincoln Riley to under 300 yards, and he's done it twice. So, for whatever reason, Lincoln Riley can't figure out Dave Aranda. But, of course, if Lincoln Riley comes to LSU, he won't have to worry about Dave Aranda unless Dave Aranda takes an SEC job from Baylor. I start off here with Lincoln Riley. I understand this past weekend wasn't great. I understand their 9-1 is not all that impressive of a 9-1, but he's still 9-1, right? Just because your schedule is bad, you still got to go out there and win the games, right? Look at LSU right now. Look at what has actually happened. I want you to be really honest with yourself about LSU's schedule this year. Was this schedule actually good? No, the schedule turned out to not be all that great. Who has been the best team on LSU schedule outside of Alabama? And honestly, it's just a bunch of mediocrity, right? I mean, look, you can make the case that Arkansas is the best team on LSU schedule, and you held them to 281, and those 281 yards weren't all that impressive at all. So the fact that Ed Orgeron is even in this 4-6 position right now is crazy. It doesn't mean that you are for sure going to actually, win your games. It is not a guarantee. You still got to go out there and get it done. And let's not act like the Big 12 is just a bunch of, trash, right? Lincoln Riley's got to beat Oklahoma State every year. Lincoln Riley's got to beat, even though they're not that great in a tough rivalry game, they got to beat Texas every year. So, yes, the Big 12 isn't some, masterful conference. And it does help that Lincoln Riley caught the tail end of the Gary Patterson era, but he's still elite, okay? And this is just a myth right here. He would turn into a playoff loser like the rest. Okay, this has been the number one criticism I've gotten from Dave from Lincoln Riley as we welcome in KO, King Ulysses, Carey. Okay, he would turn into a playoff loser like the rest. So Lincoln Riley lost a close game to Georgia. Once again, the calls didn't go his way. I thought he did get a little conservative in that game, but still, that was a 50-50 ball game. Got a little unlucky in some certain spots in that game. Game could have gone either way. The other two playoff losses were to a really good Alabama team. And he also lost to freaking the greatest team of all time. You can't say that LSU is the greatest team of all time and then knock Lincoln Riley for losing to the greatest team of all time. That is lunacy. That would be like going up to Frazier and saying, how the heck did you get beat by Muhammad Ali? Well, he's Muhammad Ali, right? So it's wild. Roger, our first super chatter of the night. Congratulations, Roger. I really appreciate you. Sorry for not making the meetup at the game. Is there any truth to Lincoln Riley, or is this the biggest game of media telephone ever? Okay, let's go to Roger's super chat, and then we will go to Daniel. Okay, so first off, Roger's super chat is really good, right? I do think there is some discomfort with Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma. I do think he is bothered by some of those surrounding him. I do think a change of scenery. He is still younger. I do think somewhere in his psyche that he's willing to make a bold move. But like I said from the get-go, I have no inside sources. I have some people in the program that give me some good information. I'm not a newsbreaker. I never have been. I never will be. It's just something I don't do. But I've always said that it's going to take at least 10 million or 12 million a year to get Lincoln Riley over here. And you're going to have to give him some serious concessions for him to decide that he wants to come over to LSU. Roger, ultimately, I don't think Lincoln Riley does it. Oklahoma has really elite recruiting classes. They have by far the best 2023 class up to this point, and they have a top 10 2022 class. So they're already recruiting well enough to get to and actually win the college football playoff. You look at the 4 stars. You look at Lincoln Riley since he's been at Oklahoma. LSU has brought in 42 4-star defenders or better. Lincoln Riley has brought in 38 4-star defenders or better. It's just been the scheme that hasn't been up to snuff just yet. So, yes, I do think some of this is media creation, but if you are Lincoln Riley, it would be hard to turn down $12 million a year and an overall slightly better job in terms of winning national championships. But it's only slightly. Oklahoma is still a really good job. It's either Riley, Kiffin, or Aranda. They are going to do the best out of the contenders, in my opinion. No to Jimbo. Our D will always be fine. Need offense. Okay, so let's talk about this here. Okay. No to Jimbo. Okay. I like Jimbo Fisher a lot, right? Look, Jimbo Fisher has turned Texas A&M into a recruiting power. And it's not just the recruits he's landed in this cycle. It's that the recruits, the last two he's landed in the past week, are recruits that no prognosticator was guessing Texas A&M was going to land. No one guessed that Le'Veon Moss would eventually flip from Alabama to Texas A&M. No one thought Walter Nolan would end up committing to Texas A&M. They might flip. There's no telling. But the fact that Texas A&M got in there is pretty impressive. Texas A&M has a four-star quarterback in the 2022 cycle. They also have arguably the second best quarterback in the 2023 cycle in the state of Louisiana committed. Jimbo Fisher is recruited at an extremely high level. Now, as far as his offensive scheme is concerned, I do think there are some things that, Daniel, that I don't like about Jimbo's offenses. And what's interesting is that I had a full Jimbo Fisher deep dive done last week, right? It was done. But I didn't press send because my major point of my deep dive from Jimbo's, the biggest weakness I found in Jimbo Fisher is that he hasn't been good away from Kyle Field. So his yards per play numbers in neutral site games and away games aren't as good as they are at Kyle Field. Now, I understand a lot of you are probably like, well, home field, of course, it makes sense. But the splits are pretty drastic, really drastic. And once again, this was a continuation of Jimbo Fisher's offenses not being good on the road, where they laid a huge stinker against Ole Miss. And their three worst games this year on a yards per play basis have been two neutral site games and an away game this past weekend against Ole Miss. Their only decent yards per play game was against Missouri on the road, and that was actually Missouri's one of their better games defensively. Missouri has a worse defense than the Bo Pelini LSU defense. So Jimbo Fisher struggles on the road. So that is something that Woodward would have to consider if he made the move to Jimbo Fisher. And I also agree with this, Daniel. And you'll always bring Texas A&M recruits, period. They have tons of money. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And let's be honest, A&M's got a good staff. They've done a good job getting some really good recruiters on staff. I know Damian Craig is not going to have any fans on this channel. He's a talented coach. That's all there is to it. And Andres agrees with Daniel here. I agree with Daniel. If we don't get Riley, we should shift our focus to Kiffin. We would need to back him before Florida. He would be dangerous at Florida. Lincoln's a pretty good fit at Florida, too, personality-wise. He's coaching the state of Florida. So, yeah, I do think LSU does need to pick up the pace here. If the Florida job is the one that does indeed end up opening up, I could also see Lincoln Riley making a brash move to Miami. I think that could happen to bring back the U. And personality-wise, that actually would be a pretty good fit. The U needs a bit of an outlaw coach. Manny Diaz does not fit the U culture. They need they need someone edgy, right? So, yeah. Let's see. Let me finish Daniel's super chat here. Kiffin or Aranda, they are going to do the best out of the contenders, in my opinion. I like Dave Aranda a lot. You guys know I'm a big Dave Aranda fan. I do think, though, that the offensive side of the ball is really, really broken. You guys know we do film studies every week. I do think there are some major talent deficiencies that LSU not only has now, but they're going to have moving forward, in particular on the offensive line. And once again, I think Brad Davis has done a really good job with this group. But, as far as unless he lives on the Bunny Ranch, miss it. Jimbo loves his ranch. He ain't coming. And look, once again, if Jimbo Fisher comes to Texas A&M, he's not going to, or comes to LSU, he's not going to have the same amount of power, right? He might have a better relationship with his athletic director because he and Scott Woodward are friends. But it just, honestly, and once again, all biases aside, I'm not sure if I'm Jimbo, I would leave A&M for LSU, if I'm looking at this objectively. And I'm not so sure if I'd personally want him. Right now, he is not in my top 3. But still, there is something else about Jimbo Fisher, is that if you do get him, you do take away a coach from one of your powerful SEC rivals. Okay? I believe I'm saying this, but Aranda will have a wet dream recruiting these football athletes in Louisiana. He's probably losing those athletes due to tank. Yeah, it's true. That's true. I would agree with this as well from Bayou Bengal. Riley has always been the best candidate for Woodward. He would smash at LSU. I do think Lincoln will win big at LSU as well. Cordell Flott for Heisen. I love it. So, yeah. I know, Tyler, there's a really good quarterback committed to Lincoln Riley for class of 2023, Malachi Nelson. He's good. He's a really good football player. Some think he's better than Arch in 2023, right? So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And Lincoln Riley does a really good job recruiting the quarterback position. It's amazing how well he stacks that position. Let's see. Oh, Weedren's a 5-star now? Oh, yeah, Ryan, I forgot you're a Tamu fan, but you're also a fan of the Nuss Bus. It's kind of strange. Hey, what's good, man? I was in Opelousas this weekend. Let's see. Big Jared says I only have 2 candidates, Aranda or Riley. Not a bad top 2 right there. That's right. You went to high school with Nuss. I forgot about that. So tell me this, Ryan. If you know Nuss, please tell him just to play. Please just tell him to play. I would not redshirt. Honestly, and I'm not just saying that because it helps LSU. I just don't think it's smart to turn down reps at quarterback ever. You're never guaranteed reps at quarterback. Never. Never, ever. Let me ask you a question. You know what's strange? Okay. We can all agree. There would be a consensus on this entire chat that Matt Flynn is one of the greatest LSU football players ever. Now, he's not in probably like the upper echelon. He wasn't an All-American, but he's one of the most important and one of the better LSU quarterbacks of all time. If Jamarcus Russell had said, look, I want to come back and go try and win a national championship, which would not have been smart. If you're the number 1 pick, you always go. Andrew Luck did come back, whatever. Still, you should always just go, right? But it is wild that Matt Flynn would have never been the starter if Jamarcus Russell said, I want to come back, right? Could you imagine that? Now, if you're Nuss, you always take snaps. You always take snaps, especially when your team really needs you, right? My best friend is closer to Nuss and said that Nuss has been expecting to play. He did last week. Yeah, I just, once again, it did bother me today, and I didn't spend too much time on this today. It did bother me, like Ed Orgeron is suggesting Nussmeier redshirt. How do you think the people in the locker room feel about that, right? When they know we need you. King Robert! Okay, so King Robert just gave, as you guys know, King Robert is the one keeping us afloat right now. I appreciate another very generous super chat there, King Robert. I mean, I could always, show love. King Robert's always supporting. Cliff's always supporting. Jared's always supporting. My guy, Roger. I hate that I didn't get to see Roger's always supporting. Daniel's always supporting. So King Robert wants to talk about Semper Fi's favorite candidate, which is Billy Napier. Johnny, what's good, man? You want a day one PHLer? Johnny's been with me. Johnny, I think you're with me pre 1,000 subs, right? I really do think so. I like it. So let's talk about Billy Napier. Okay, let me go on ahead and change the poll question to make it easier on everyone else. Let's talk about Billy Napier right here. Okay, so in poll, Lincoln Riley seems to be winning this poll. Let me put up a poll here, and everyone show some love to King Robert in the chat. You guys know King Robert fighting the evil sea. I love it, man. You've been inspiring everyone on this channel, Robert, for so long now. Appreciate you supporting me. And Robert does something smart. So he puts his booger bands around his Yeti cups. That's what you should do. And by the way, we are low on booger bands. This is all I have left right here. So you better get your 3 for 20 booger bands. And by the way, if you get your 3 for 20 booger bands, if you send me a Venmo or Cash App, I'm sending you a Joe Burrow rookie card along with it. Okay? And I just dropped something. I hope it wasn't. Jared, thank you for another super chat, my guy. Let's see. Okay. Is Billy Napier in your top 3 is our new poll question. Okay. There he is, Robert. Thank you for the generous super chat, Robert. So Robert wants to talk about Billy Napier. Okay. So look, it would be kind of fitting that Billy Napier gets this job because our program is going to be powered by the 337, the city of Lafayette, right? So we got Walker Howard coming in, got LaTerrence Welch coming in. I think LaTerrence will play a lot next year. I think he's really good. Hopefully you flip a Walter Bob, maybe. But you guys know Jack Besh is probably the number 1 player on the team right now, on offense, definitely. So it would be fitting that a head coach from Lafayette comes as well. So I want to talk about Billy Napier for a little bit. Okay. So Billy Napier is a lot like me, right? And this is going to sound like very cliche. I don't believe this to be true, Carrie. I don't think Woody would not hire Billy Napier. From what I've read, it looks as if LSU is doing their due diligence on Billy Napier. Obviously, Woody is a splash hire guy. So the thing is, and I included this in my tweet, promoting our live stream tonight, that Billy Napier's obviously, the biggest hurdle for him is going from Group of 5 to Power 5. But here's a few things I like about Billy Napier. He is a process-oriented thinker. So what does that mean exactly? Well, Dave Aranda is also a process-oriented thinker. He doesn't look at end results. He's always looking at trying to improve on what he already has. It's the number 1 reason why Nick Saban is still the number 1 coach in America. He's always looking to improve, right? And ultimately, that is what ended Ed Orgeron's tenure, right? We did a video on this earlier today that Ed Orgeron could never get past how the 2019 offense worked. And he could not grasp that the 2019 offense was a true 1-of-1 miracle. Now, it's not lucky that LSU won a national championship, but it's lucky the way that they won it and how they won it. And as many of you know that have watched LSU football, you know that it felt different. That team felt like an out-of-body experience. So the fact that Ed Orgeron just could not get past that, you're never going to be able to recreate that, is part of the reason why we've had such big offensive struggles. Billy Napier doesn't think like that. He's always looking to improve. He's always looking to change. And whether that be 4th down decision-making, anything, he is legit just a real football junkie. Now, something else I like about Billy Napier a lot is this would be a dream job for him. He has turned down a lot of other opportunities, and Billy Napier basically has made it be clear that he's not going to go somewhere from Lafayette unless it is a job where he can win the big one. Okay, so Bernie Miller wrote a good article in The Athletic, and just based on everything else I've seen about Billy Napier, is he's just good. He's just a really good football coach. He's good between the headset, which would be a nice change. Based on what we've seen this year, this has been our worst coaching staff ever when it comes to being between the headset. So in other words, that basically means how good are you when the clock starts between the white lines, or technically outside the white lines. So actually coaching the game of football, right? So that's key. Also, Billy Napier is going to know how to recruit. It would be a little bit different, but I don't think recruiting would be that big of a hurdle. Now, there are some things, Robert, that I do that I do think is a little interesting as far as Billy Napier is. I'm not overly impressed with his offense. I thought that they would be a little bit more passing oriented with a more experienced quarterback. But Levi Lewis just hasn't, he's had a good season. Once again, I don't watch UL football as closely as a lot of the people in here, right? I just think for me, going from the group of 5 to the Power 5, this isn't per se the same as Elijah Drinkowitz going from Appalachian to Missouri, right? This is a bigger and different type of step up. Now, Billy Napier, I think every one of you, even if you're anti-Napier at this point, I think every one of you would say the following, that Billy Napier is not your normal group of 5 candidate. He is different. You could tell he's really talented. And at some point, he's going to take a Power 5 job. I can easily see Billy Napier take the Virginia Tech job. That is a job I think that would fit him. I also think he would look at the ACC and say, look, I can have a quicker path to the playoff if I could get Virginia Tech rolling. I just think that Virginia Tech job is a little bit more of a facelift than people want to admit. So we do know this, right? Johnny, thank you for the generous super chat. Hitstick, thank you for the very generous super chat as well. This is a big thing, okay, as far as Billy Napier is concerned. Could he win big at LSU? Yes, I do think he's a fine candidate. Would I be overly happy with Billy Napier? Probably not, because I do like Lincoln Riley so much. He would be obviously cheaper, and we do know this. He would take the job. So at least we would have some decisiveness. There is something to be said about this, and recruits go through this as well. And I've spoken to coaches as well about this. What sometimes happens when you are elite at something and you pack your bags and move somewhere else, there's always, for Lincoln Riley, there's always going to be something in the back of his head that says, why? Let's just say LSU, there's some muddy waters the first couple of years with Lincoln Riley. There's always going to be something in the back of his head that says, why did I ever leave Oklahoma? You would not get that with Billy Napier. This is his big shot, right? So you would have a coach, even if he struggles, would be fully decisive in his decision and going to LSU. So that does factor in, I think, a little bit when it comes to Napier. So yeah, let's go to Hitstick first. Johnny says, supporting my guy. Keep up the good work, man. I really appreciate all the support you're giving me and the PHL fam. Johnny, I appreciate you, my man. I really do. I got to say this. Johnny's been with me since pre-1,000 subs. I love it. I really do. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you all the way down to River Ridge. And of course, if I shout out Johnny, I got to shout out the lovely other half, Gail. Thank you so much. She's always right there watching with Johnny. I appreciate you. And Hitstick. I love it, man. Let me go ahead and shout out my guy, Blake. AYS is my favorite podcast. He used my full name, too. He used my last name, man. I love it, man. Napier. Shout out to my guy. Man, the season really just had to coincide with one of the most talented Louisiana crops we've seen in the past decade. Hitstick, I'm going to need your help on this, okay? Hitstick, you follow recruiting probably a little better than I do. I look at it pretty much every day, but I don't go deep. I'm not Sam Spiegelman. I'm not a recruiting expert, right? Let me let me say this, okay? He's right. This 2022 class is special. Okay. I felt pretty good about 2021. I thought Louisiana had a pretty good crop in 2021, and you guys knew how much I freaking love Jack Bash, right? Man. So I thought Louisiana was pretty loaded. I do think 2022 is better. I just do. I just think they have better players. Not by much. I really like the 2021 class. So yeah, I'm really excited about 2022. I'm not excited about Texas A&M potentially flipping Jacoby Matthews. So yeah, I've got to say, man, Hitstick, make me feel better about this. So tell me this, okay? Hitstick, help me feel better. Napier eats gas station sushi and gas station boudin. Well, if you say gas station boudin, exactly, Simplify. Billy's is a gas station. So the best boudin is in a gas station. I gotta say Billy's is the best. I'm not just saying that because of the hype. I'm not just saying that because we got a lot of viewers. Not necessarily in Crotch Springs, but a lot of you go to Billy's. Okay. But Hitstick, help me out, man. Do you think this 2022 cycle is going to come back to bite us? Because look, it's not over, right? We still could get Kendrick Law. I know a lot of you. Okay. Tell me this. Okay. Hitstick, help me out, man. I need your help on this. How many of you think Quincy Wiggins is like the next Glenn Dorsey? Right? How many of you think like Quincy Wiggins is like the next like Tyson Jackson? I'm telling you, I get messages all the time. Carter, you don't talk enough about Quincy Wiggins. Like you don't understand how good this guy is. I think he's good. I do think I do think it's a little bit harder to just go out there and win games on the defensive line because college football isn't as run based as it once was. So help me out with this. I know some of you really think like Quincy Wiggins is like the next big next great one up front, and he could be. I like his tape. I really do. So yeah. Wait, you're there right now? I don't believe it. On the bright side, I guarantee you Will and Emery will be terrors on that line. It's true. So look, this is what I've always said about 2022. Okay. So and we'll talk about Le'Veon Moss. Why not? Why not? 2021. That class is really special. Okay. I've always thought that class was special. Okay. I will say this about 2021. It will help out that the 2021 crop is really, really good. So it's going to help out that we're going to lose. Jacoby Matthews is legit a coin flip at this point. Same with Kendrick Law. I don't know how I feel about Quincy Wiggins at this point. If he goes elsewhere, I wish him the best. But still. The thing that sucks about Quincy Wiggins, though, is his top three is Florida and Alabama, two teams we play, obviously, every year. Now, you would prefer him to go to Florida, but still. Let's see. Are you serious? You've been helping me out with the cooked brisket? Oh, man. Yeah, I'll tell you this. Oklahoma people will fight you over brisket cooking. But I hit stick. You and I think you and I have been on the same page on this. King Ulysses. I'll tell you this: King Ulysses evaluations are normally pretty accurate. He said Malik Neighbors was going to be the best wide receiver in this crop. Or you said he would be really good, and he's turned out to be pretty good as a true freshman, despite his injuries. He says Wiggins has just as much talent as Mason Smith. Ulysses? You might be right. You're right about Malik Neighbors. I'll tell you that. Big Mac, your booger bands are in the mail. We are thinking about you and the loss in your family. We love you, man. PHL fam, let's go. But yeah, I hit stick. We've talked about this on this channel, okay? And this is going to sound like an oversimplification of the situation, right? But Emory Jones and Will Campbell, I still think both of them are at such a value position in this next crop compared to everyone else we just mentioned, right? Savion Jones looks like he's going to be pretty good. We got some other defensive ends I think will turn out. I think Landon Jackson's going to turn out to be a decent player. We'll see. And then, of course, we got Mason Smith. We got Roy for another year. Guillory looks okay. And yeah, you know, I went back and looked at the defensive line depth chart, and I'm starting to think a little bit more on, you know, my Quincy Wiggins nonchalance. I do think he is a little bit more premium now. But still, he's really good. I do think Quincy's a pretty good player. Okay. So, yeah. But to finish up on this thought, what's up, Sip G? But to finish up on this, as long as Walker Howard doesn't flip, we're fine. Okay. I think the other recruits will sort itself out. If Will Campbell and Emory Jones, if either one of them flips, you know, we're going to be in some trouble. Okay. We're going to be in some trouble. I don't think any of those three guys are going to flip. I also think LaTerrence Welch is a big-time prospect. I do, right? I don't think he's going to flip. But it can happen. You know, look, LaTerrence Welch, it's kind of hard to not fall in love with him as a corner, right? He's good. He's good. Roger sends me a super chat about General Wade has turned into an LSU basketball school. Are we really a basketball school? I might have to, Roger. I might have to change this whole channel to basketball. So here's what we'll do. We'll talk some LSU basketball a little bit later. I did catch the tail end of the game. Not my expertise, but I do call some college basketball games. So at the end of the stream, Roger, I'll happily answer your LSU basketball questions, but I am happy you did super chat. Darius Days is obviously living up to potential this year. I hate the young man from Illinois, whatever. I hate the young man got hurt. And yeah, I hope LSU basketball is really good. Hitstick, you would not want Spencer Rattler at the portal? Really? So Johnny wants to talk some with Terrence Welch. Johnny just dropped a really nice super chat. Yeah, I like Welch a lot too. I think he's really good. I do. I just do. I also think LSU should go on ahead and get really aggressive with some of these 3 stars, right? I would have already offered Jordan Allen. I would have. Once again, I could see why they're not offering him, because they're waiting to see what Osbury's going to do. They already have Jadarian Rom committed in this class. But here's the thing. LSU can take 25 high school recruits now and still have transfer portal slots because of the new rule. What do you have to lose, right? Well, you can lose a slot. But I've shared this thought on Jordan Allen as well. Defensive back is the most important position on the defense now. You got to have guys that can cover. You're never, from this point forward, ever going to have less than 4 defensive backs on the field. But more often than not, you're going to have 5. And I do see a future in college football that you're going to have 6 on the field a lot of the time. Okay. Also, defensive backs are probably some of the best special teamers you can have. So, I do think there's value in taking a shot on Jordan Allen, right? We need as many DBs as we possibly can get. And another reason why DB is such a big premium position is, as you guys have seen, we have gotten a lot of injuries on the defense, right? So we need to load up at that position. Now, my next deep dive is going to be on something pretty interesting. Have you noticed LSU's defensive injuries have not been as bad in the past couple of weeks? You see what happens when your body doesn't have to deal with playing man coverage on every snap. You're not as exhausted. You're not going to get as many injuries. That's my theory. Once again, I haven't tested it. I haven't looked too deep into it. But in the past couple of weeks, I don't think we've had any serious injuries on defense. Once again, an extremely small sample. We'll see what happens the next couple of weeks. But that's always been my theory. You notice the last couple of years, and even the year before, we had Grant Delpit banged up. We had Kerry Vincent banged up. We haven't had as many serious injuries in the defensive backfield outside of these past couple of seasons, right? So still, you need as many DBs as you can get. Okay. That would be interesting. Jacoby Matthews. I like Jacoby a lot. Yeah, no, I like him a lot. A little bit of a tweener, but I'll tell you this, man. What he's done for Ponchatoula was simply incredible. I haven't really looked at Ponchatoula this year, but the dude is unfreaking real in high school. Like, he's just a freaking winner. When he took over for TJ Finley at quarterback, the dude was just unreal. I don't know how you evaluate guys coming out of high school. Look at the class Bama fielded on defense in 2018, 2019. They didn't really live up to the hype. All comes down to play on Saturdays, no matter how many stars they have. I do agree with this, Max. I do. I do think now this is going to sound a little interesting, right? Even though offense is the more important side of the ball, I do think stars do matter a little bit more on defense. With that said, these last couple of weeks shows how important scheme is to your team, right? And I can't get over this. You guys know I like Ed Orgeron. I always love that man for being the coach of the 2019 team. But you guys, here's the truth. We wasted this season. Wasted it. If Ed Orgeron just coaches slightly better, we're 6-4 team now instead of a 4-6 team. Wasted it. But I do agree with you on this, Max. High school evaluations, we actually, on last Tuesday's live stream, spent a long time on this subject at the end of the live stream, right? It was Grant who sent a very nice super chat on this topic about high school evaluations. And Mo Funky actually shared some thoughts on this as well. I do think there's just some bad misses in recruiting and the rankings, but for the most part, they are accurate. And for the most part, the team that wins the blue chip ratio are the teams that actually win in the playoffs. Okay. And I agree with this as well from Carvis. Welcome. Stars do matter on defense. And I know some people would say, well, how come we lose all these 5 stars, but our defense looks the best without them? Yes. My counter to that would be the only reason that the stars didn't look good in the previous scheme is that the previous scheme was that bad. It had nothing to do with them, right? Imagine Stingley, Ricks, Mason Smith, all those guys in the scheme that we have now, we would be that much better. Okay. So, yeah, I do think stars matter on defense. You got to have scheme to go along with it, right? Georgia's scheme, defensive scheme, is probably the best in the country. They just also happen to have 5 stars that go along with it. Now, of course, you have an occasional 3-star. You know, what, the best defensive player this year in college football is a 3-star, Jordan Davis. But Will Anderson of Alabama is a 5-star. So Elias Ricks, you know, the best true freshman defensive player last year, is a 5-star. So, yeah, I mean, you still just recruit the best players. But yeah, you know, I do agree with this, man. Sometimes you just got to go out there and play, right? This is also true, Max. And some of it is just putting them in the right position to succeed, right? So yeah, you know, outside of Jordan Davis, most of Georgia's defense is 5 stars. Darian Kendrick, 5-star transfer from Clemson. Number 88, I think it's actually their best defensive lineman was a 5-star, right? So yeah, and Jordan Davis plays alongside a bunch of 5-stars. And look, you know, LSU's national championship defense of 2019 was pretty much mostly 5-stars or top 100 4-stars. Now, of course, you had some lower rated players on that defense, Patrick Queen, but still, it was mostly 5-stars, right? So Rashard Lawrence was a 5-star. Sting was a 5-star. Stevens was a 5-star. Fulton was a 5-star. Delpa was a top 100 4-star. Phillips was a top 100 4-star. Shovel was a top 100 4-star. So yeah, I mean it does matter on defense, right? Who's the best defensive player from that team? Stingley in 2019. It's kind of tough, man. It honestly depended on the game. I'll tell you this. I do think, going back and rewatching all those games, I do think Grant Delpit's struggles were overstated. I'll share this with you. I think Derek Singleton was great in 2019. I don't think there was really this seismic gap between him and Christian Fulton. I thought Fulton was also very dominant that year. Honestly, Isaac T, at the end of the year, I would say from the Ole Miss game till the end of the year, I would actually say Kerry Vincent was LSU's best defensive player. He was lights the F out I get chills thinking about it. It just kind of came out of nowhere, right? He was amazing. I don't know what happened, but I just love seeing guys live up to their potential. You can make the case, Kerry Vincent. And I'm not just saying that because of the interceptions. He did some just crazy athletic things. And he was always, you know, the best. Like, he was the fastest, most athletic DB on that team, right? Him and Sting. But man, dude, that dude was just incredible. Yeah, you can make the case Tyler Shelvin. That was Bill Belichick's favorite player on the 2019 team. Yeah, Kerry Vincent was a top 4. Yeah, he was an elite recruit. I would say Chason was probably the most unreplaceable guy on that defense because he did so many different things for him. I wouldn't say he's the most dominant, but he did wear the number 18 and he was a good leader. And God, he could run. He could really run. But that defense was really good. By the end of the year, they were a top 10 defense in college football. No doubt about it. Damon Clark. How about that? You want a Damon Clark chat? You say Patrick Queen? I hope so. I love Patrick Queen. Yeah, Patrick Queen. Yeah, I mean, he deserved. his Clemson performance is probably still, I know he was the MVP. I mean, it was legendary. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I would say probably 90% of LSU's top contributors on defense were top 100 recruits. Okay, so it's just amazing how well that group was recruited, and it was kind of weird because what made that group so special were the two kids from Tennessee. So they got Phillips and Stevens, the 5 stars, and I believe it was Austin Thomas who did most of the legwork on that, and that was when we won the championship when Thomas was, I think, at Texas A&M. So that's wild. This is a good question here. Okay. With all that talent, Aranda, why did it take so long for the 2019 D to play great, you think? This is actually a really, really good question. Okay. So once again, if you guys want to super chat and talk about more current stuff, I know I look at the analytics all the time. I know if we go back in the past, people just want to talk about the now, but I'll happily answer this question. But if you guys want to get back on to more current stuff, I would be happy to do that. But I do want to answer this because Mo Funky is always one of our most ardent chatters. So I think a few things. Number one, I do think for Dave Aranda. So Dave Aranda was a defensive coordinator at Wisconsin. They played a slow pace, right? Then he's at LSU. The first few years, we're playing football like Wisconsin. So you're playing at a slower pace. It is different to call plays at a faster pace, right? So, we had the dominant game against Georgia Southern. And Aranda's worst game at LSU by far was the Texas game. We really needed Dave Aranda in that game. And he responded with 5 possessions from Texas. They scored 4 touchdowns and a field goal on those possessions. So Dave Aranda was just awful that game. He just could not stop the other team. And he had an awful half against Alabama, but he had a really good half in the first half, which is all you could really ask for. Alabama's 2019 offense was really freaking good. I mean, it's just no other way around it. So that was a bad half for him. Florida, he started bad, but he ended strong. So, yeah, I do think his struggles that year were a little overstated because of how dominant he was in the years prior. And I spoke to a few coaches about this, right? So as many of you know, I try to keep up with as many coordinators I've met over the years. I used a lot of those sources and to bounce ideas off our Jake Peetz and DJ Mangas deep dive earlier today. And if you haven't watched it, we were talking about how what the broadcaster said, that DJ Mangas calls all the third down passes or most of the third down passes, which is really strange. But anyway, we're talking about Dave Aranda here. Some of it was just losing Devin White, because as great as everyone we just mentioned, Devin White is that much better. So you lose Devin White. As great as Phillips and Queen were, they weren't that guy. So I think that was part of it, because he was a leader. And once again, he was just our best player. If you go back and look at the Texas A&M game from the year prior, we would have lost that game a lot worse if Devin White wasn't there. So, yeah, I think that's part of it, Mo Funky. We didn't have DW. And, when you lose him, I mean, he's top 10 player of the modern era. So, yeah, that sucked. I also think, the pace of play thing, but I also think he didn't really find the defensive formations he liked until he started using Marcel Brooks and Damon Clark. And those two were really underrated on that defense. They brought a lot of speed. They brought a lot of different looks. And we got really exotic when we started running those types of defenses with them. And honestly, Lincoln Riley couldn't figure it out. Trevor Lawrence, Tony Elliott couldn't figure it out. Yes, we got ran over by Ole Miss, but that was a back-to-back road game. That was the first back-to-back road games we had played since 2016, I believe. And we were really beat up, and there was no reason for Grant Delpit to play that game on one leg. So, yeah, I think that's some of it. But honestly, the most important thing is Dave Aranda never gave up more than 30 points in non-road games. And overall, I think he was good. Overall, I think he was good. So, and this is essentially it right here. I just think that was a big thing right there, Mo Funky. You know, it's just hard. Yeah, complimentary football, very important. Do you think Durant is better stopping run teams or pass strong teams? I would probably say pass, but he's good at stopping both, right? Obviously, his best performance was probably shutting down Lamar Jackson in that bowl game, which is still insane how bad we beat them down in that game. It helps having Jamal Adams, Arden Key, and Dante Jackson, but we were in our bag that game. I mean, it was crazy. Mm. Clyde was unreal. Clyde was so unreal. He really was just unreal, man. And it's just wild, man. The dude is just so wild. Dude, we forget about Clyde's Arkansas game too. I mean, he just had so many crazy moments. Had the big run to start our Clemson drive at the end of the half. He's just great, man. He's just great. But yeah, so as far as Divinity, that's wild. Yeah. God, Devin White was just so good, man. He's just so freaking good. I mean, there's just no other way around it, man. He was just so great. I loved Curry. Chris Curry, yeah, solid player. Not a good fit in those post years. How did he do with Utah? Danielle says, I dozed off waiting for this to start and nearly missed it. Too old for these late nights. Danielle, there's nothing I could do about it. So, but welcome. Good to see you. Master Blaster is back. Let me see. I'm trying to get to as many comments as we can. Once again, I will go straight to your topic, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat. We've already touched on pretty much everything outside of the I do want to get to this. I'll happily talk about Devin White all night. You guys know this, right? Great leader. He tried to pep the team up before the season. Doesn't matter if Ed Orgeron is your coach, right? Look, Bucci, what's good? Guys and gals. And I don't even know where to start with this Ed Orgeron press conference from yesterday. So I listened to it on the way back, and then I was listening to Jeremy Hill and Hunt talk about it after that. It was cool to actually get to listen to local radio. And so I was driving back, listening to that. I had to pull over to the side of the road. I was so angry. I was so freaking angry with everything. And some of it is obviously, Daronte, right? Knowing that we were holding Daronte back. But then again, Ed Orgeron said in the press conference that he was the one that decided to move on from the 4-3. He said that he saw, and I could be wrong about this. I could be misquoting him. Please correct me. But he did say he felt that the 4-3 was not good at stopping the run. And my response to that is, how did you not see this versus UCLA or the 10 games that we played last year? And just throwing this out there, all the film studies we've done on this very thing as far as the 4-3 stopping the run. I digress. Then we did the piece earlier today about the Peetz and Mangas. That was another part of the press conference. But to me, the one thing that bothered me the most was the Garrett Nussmeier thing. Okay. Danielle, if you super chat, I'll happily go back to the coaching names. But we did spend a lot of time going through pretty much every name. But of course, I'll go back to it for you a little bit later. Anyway, we'll get back to the coaching rumors. Okay. So I've got to say this. Okay. I cannot stress how bad the Garrett Nussmeier situation was handled. Okay. I cannot stress it. Right. So one of Garrett's high school buddies is in the chat right now. Okay. I did a lot of research on Garrett Nussmeier this offseason. We did 2 deep dives on Nuss. We did a high school film study, and we showed you when we went through every high school quarterback that has ever come to LSU. Garrett Nussmeier had the highest completion percentage of any high school quarterback that I've ever charted that came to LSU, just based on their senior statistics alone. He was phenomenal last year at the highest level of Texas football you possibly can play. And the one thing I just kept hearing from doing research is that Garrett Nussmeier is a competitor. He wants to play. So when I was going through, a lot of these Nuss pieces that we've done recently, look, he didn't play well against Arkansas. But I would argue momentum does matter a little bit more at the true freshman quarterback. And he was dealing before the Wildcat call, okay? He wasn't the same after that. He missed some easy throws. He tried to make the spectacular throw too many times instead of just taking what the defense gave him. And they threw a lot of different looks at him, growing pains. It was his first performance. I've said from the get-go that I am not an unbelievably high Garrett Nussmeier stan, per se. I do think, though, he could be really special, right? In other words, I don't view him the same way like I view like a Caleb Williams or a Bryce Young or Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's a 5-star talent like those guys. I think the way 247 had him rated as a top 100 quarterback is pretty good. So, look, I understand wanting everyone to redshirt. And in a perfect world, we can redshirt everyone. But I was reading a Los Angeles Times piece. They're doing a deep dive, and I do think some people really want Dave Aranda out at USC. Okay? So I was doing some research on this, guys, and Dave Aranda said a quote that you can't treat stars and backups differently. You can't treat players differently. Right now, Garrett Nussmeier, we need him to play. We need Garrett Nussmeier to play, okay? As in right the freak now, okay? I'm not saying Garrett Nussmeier needs to start. Matt, you can make the justification that Max Johnson can start. But I will say this. I cannot understate how bad Max was against Arkansas. His 2 drives against Arkansas were atrocious. He is really broken right now. I want this to be said on the live stream. I hate what Max Johnson is going through. This is not uncommon, okay? A lot of true freshmen fall down to earth their sophomore year, okay? I think Trevor Lawrence kind of had that. He only had 2 300-yard games his sophomore season, right? He kind of came back down to earth after what he did as a true freshman, which was phenomenal. He wasn't bad as a sophomore, but he wasn't as good as he was as a junior. I think Max Johnson is just the regression is very real, okay? He is – it's bad. The throws he missed against Arkansas – were bad. The Malik Neighbors one-on-one thing was one of the worst throws I've seen in that situation. He threw it in the worst possible place he could have thrown that football. Then he had Devonta Lee on 2 go routes back-to-back. It was the same exact route. Devonta Lee created about the same exact separation, and he missed both of those. And then he missed Jack Mashburn on a potential conversion. Max is really broken, guys. It sucks. We know he's not this bad. I know he's not this bad. I think we did overstate how good he was versus Florida and Ole Miss. But like I said, we did a lot of film studies showing you the misses that he made against Ole Miss and Florida. Max is not this bad of a quarterback, but he is broken. His confidence is shot. I think he could be hurt a lot more than we're letting it out to be. But to put even more pressure on Max, put even more pressure on Peetz and Mangas, to put more pressure on the whole team that is fighting tooth and nail to salvage a bowl game for this team, we're still worrying about Garrett Nussmeier's redshirt year, which, by the way, can be made up. You don't have to redshirt as a freshman. It's not the end of the world. So Ed Orgeron said in the press conference that he would suggest Garrett Nussmeier redshirt, even though every single sign right now points to that not needing to be the case right now. It is not smart to do that. It is a disservice not only to Max, but to Nuss and everyone on the team trying to get to a bowl game. So if Garrett Nussmeier goes to Ed Orgeron and says, look, I do want to redshirt, okay? I do want a redshirt. I do want to do this. Then you better not give him any second-team reps. The second-team reps needs to go to the second-team quarterback, which is going to be a walk-on. If you play a walk-on at quarterback, more than likely it's not going to be a Baker Mayfield situation. Tavion Falk and the other guy's name, I can't even think. Matt O'Dowd, I think that's his name. They probably can't play. They probably can't play a lick. And we're waving the white flag if that happens. How does that make you feel? I understand a lot of you want this season just to be over. Let's just move on. And maybe the players feel the same way. Maybe the players don't want to actually play in a bowl game. But I'll tell you what I want. I want this team to go out there and win. I want this. These guys have fought hard. Effort has never been the issue. There have been times when some guys have gotten lazy on the field. We have pointed that out. Effort hasn't been the issue. Damon Clark, Liam Shanahan had his body snapped in two versus Alabama. That was the most vicious hit I've ever seen. You can make every criticism about Liam Shanahan. The dude plays freaking hard. Right? And we are waving the white flag thinking that Max Johnson is – because, look, I said in the preview piece last Friday, this could be a bounce-back game versus Arkansas. They do have a tendency to get beat over the top. Maybe Max can hit one or two of them. He had two clear shots on the same exact throw and missed both of them horribly. He is broken. Every single one of you see it. He is broken. Okay? And Roby, this is a good super chat. Best way to boost the QB's confidence are screen passes. Well, we've done 2 film studies on screen passes, and we did it in the Alabama game recently where we showed how LSU has missed easy blocks for big TDP screens, right? So against Alabama, we had a huge screen. Ed Ingram missed the block. He actually missed 2 blocks. And if he made either one of them, we probably bust that screen for a big gain. We also missed a huge screen versus Florida where Marlon Martinez missed a block. The screen game's not working because we just keep missing the blocks, right? And they're there. And Jake's tried to call them. So I'll defend Jake as far as the screens are concerned. I do think he should have called 1 or 2 of them against Arkansas because they were zero blitzing a lot. So I do agree with you on that, Roby, as far as the screen passes are concerned. And I understand that this is just, it seems like I'm piling on Ed Orgeron here. But I've got to say it. The guys in the locker room deserve this chance. The ones that want to go to the bowl game, they deserve it. And if you're the backup quarterback, understand it is hard to keep a red shirt. When you're the backup quarterback, you are the second most important person on the team. You don't believe me? Look at Texas A&M. Their season was over when Calzada took over. Now, he beat Alabama. I give him a lot of credit for that, but still. Acts as a deer in the headlights. Exactly. Exactly. So Nuss is already on a team leadership council. Why are we trying to redshirt him? Let the guy play. Do you think Nuss wants his final game to? Do you think you want to know a way you can ruin a quarterback is if his final throw is a game-losing interception. We cannot redshirt him. There is no other option. There is no benefit of redshirting him at this point. JJ, huh? What's good, man? I don't know why you don't start Nuss versus ULM, right? But Ed Orgeron is just suggesting that Nuss redshirts. Why? That is the worst thing. And he's not ready. Don't get it twisted. Garrett Nussmeier is not ready to play, but he's the better of the two options right now. I'm really worried about Max. I really am. I really am, man. I just am. I don't know what the case is. But you know, some of you called this out about Max. I was high on him going into the season. I wasn't in love with him. I knew that he was very flawed. But God, I mean, the UCLA game was bad. Auburn second half was bad. Mississippi State was really good, but then everything else. Kentucky was a disaster. Man, it's just bad. The Alabama game, man. Yeah. So Ed Orgeron said this week that he said if I was Garrett Nussmeier, I would redshirt, but I would get with this. I'm going to get with this Dan and get with the Nuss. And also Ed Orgeron said we have 2 games left, which is not true. That's not true. We have 3 games left. He's already admitting a loser's mentality. So yeah, I understand. A lot of us are ready to move on, but I'm not. You guys understand when this becomes your full-time job, you begin to get emotional at the end of the year, right? Because it gets rough, right? And can get really rough in the off season. Not necessarily for views. In fact, my views have pretty much stayed the same. But it just, I like games. I like looking forward to games. I want the guys to go to a bowl game. I don't care if it's the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, right? Play the bowl game. It is very weird, right? Why are we publicly suggesting players do something that is not detrimental to them and would only benefit the team? You do play both of them. But here's the point, Pegasus. It doesn't matter, okay? You have to have a backup option. You do. You just do. You can't have a freshman walk-on be your backup option at LSU. You just can't do that. That's waving the white flag. It really is. Now, either one of them could go out there and be Baker Mayfield. That's the beauty. It's the beauty of the football. The beauty of the football. That's the beauty of the sport, right? Anybody could do anything, right? I'm not talking bad about Shreveport, but everyone always craps on the Independence Bowl for whatever reason. And people crap on Shreveport all the time. They shouldn't. JJ's in Shreveport. A lot of our viewers are in Shreveport. But I hate it. I really do hate it. I think this is also somewhat true. So they shared the story on the broadcast. I do think it was a little weird, but I'm telling you. So, well, fuck yeah, I think you watched the video from earlier, right? The Peetz DJ Mangas story they shared on the broadcast. From this point forward, I do think it is beneficial for the coordinators to speak to the media, right? It just is. Because we need, I would like to hear from Jake Peetz. I would like to know what some of the challenges have been, because I do think as a play caller, and this is also detrimental to Max and us in the offense, I don't think the play caller should ever change just because a down is third down or just because we're in the red zone. Right? So yeah, I do think there's some of this to it. I really do. Let me see. This is interesting. Our Billy Napier poll's at 50-50. I'm going to let it get to a few more votes. What's wrong with the Napier's your number 2? What's wrong with the Bachelorette? Nothing wrong with that show. I mean, I don't watch it. I don't quite get it, really. But yeah, watch what you want to watch. Jax is in Memphis, Tennessee. I could go for some Central Barbecue wings right now and their pulled pork nachos on house chips. Are you kidding me? Okay, he's a backup, but does he play? It is like last week where Nuss comes out to 2 series. Like, how does it work the rest of the way? You can't have Nuss as the emergency backup while keeping Redshirt. Yeah, that's the point, right? You should say F the Redshirt. It's that simple. I mean, you can't go into a game because look, if Nuss wants to redshirt, he can't take practice reps because it could go to the guy that's actually going in. Right? So once again, I go back to this all the time. Tony. So for those that don't know, Tony got me this shirt. Shout out to Tony. Jamestown, Tennessee. And let's go. Memphis is a good city. Guys, I just think you just got to play Nuss. I just think you do. Red shirts be darned. You want to know what's funny? There's actually quite a few players on this team that have only played 5 games up to this point. How do you think Deion Smith feels right now? He's played exactly 5 games, right? Sucks. Loses his red shirt. Sucks. Trust me, I hate it for him. But he was given snaps at a position that it's hard to get snaps. He didn't turn it down. And I'm sure he's not regretting playing exactly 5 games, right? And I do. The second half was bad. It was. But yeah. No. I don't understand why we're piling on Jake Peetz, though, right? Okay. So, once again, every Nuss save his redshirt argument is met with flawed logic. It honestly is, okay? You want to burn his redshirt for ULM and TAMU. The new coach could use that extra year with Nuss, okay? If he is the best option, once again, quarterbacks are different than everyone else on the team. He is the only other option to Max, and Max's QBR and just his overall play has completely deteriorated, okay? You got to play someone else, right? If Max continues to play as poorly as he's been being played, right? Because now we can't go to a bowl game. It doesn't matter if there's only 2 games left on the schedule, okay? Also, if you lose the job anyway down the road, which could happen, you can use that year as your redshirt year, Okay? You don't have to just redshirt as a freshman. The perfect example of this is Miles Brennan. Redshirt his sophomore year. Okay? You can make the year up down the road. If you get beat up down the road, if you get beat out down the road, more than likely you got beat out in 4 games or fewer, you would be redshirting and then transferring anyway. Okay? It's legit the same thing. Okay? Just play now. Win this job outright now, because quarterback reps are few and far between. It doesn't always come when you're perfectly ready, right? But I'll tell you this, there are quite a few great quarterbacks who never even got the opportunity to get competitive reps at their first school. So, take them, seize them. I mean, you put in all this hard work. You dream about playing Division I Power 5 football just for you to potentially save it. Heck, there could be a quarterback coming in from the portal. Walker Howard can come in. Anyone could come in and take your job now. Play right now. I agree with this to a certain extent. So, for those that didn't see the Jake Peetz video from earlier, thank you, Jared, for another nice super chat. For those that didn't see the Jake Peetz video from earlier, right? I defended him. I would like to, as an offensive coordinator, have control over what I do on third down, right? So now that we know, based on the broadcast, and once again, I said in the video earlier, the broadcast could have been wrong, but Jake Peetz was handcuffed from the start. Okay, lost his best quarterback. The coordinator, or the person that hired him, wants him to run an offense from yesteryear, an offense that worked because, well, we had guys that could get open, and we had. So Jake Peetz was handcuffed from the start, and then we learned this week that he doesn't call third down passes, right? Unless it's a run. So if it's a run, he calls a run. How clunky is that? Especially now knowing that we've had all these delay of game penalties, all these offensive timeouts. So yes, Jake Peetz was not ready for this job. He hasn't been that great at it. But you tell me how you would feel if those things were handcuffed to you. Because every offensive coordinator I spoke for the piece today, and I spoke to 2, said, look, I wouldn't take that job. But Jake Peetz had to take that job, right? He was given the opportunity he's worked his whole life for. Just for it to have every disaster happen day after day, second after second, okay? And I do begin to wonder, okay, that 4th down call versus Ole Miss, which I called the worst play call I have ever seen. The 4th down call, 4th and goal. I have nightmares about that play call. It was the worst thing I think I've ever seen. It wanted me to drink bleach and jump into an erupting volcano. It was that bad of a play call. It made the slip screen to Cole Taylor versus UCLA look like the Philly special. It was that bad of a play call, right? Where we had Trey Palmer on a drag route out of a pre-snap behind the line of scrimmage motion, and Jeray Jenkins running into 2 defenders, and those are the only 2 options from 3 yards out. You guys know how much that hurt me. You know it. I cried about it. No, I didn't cry about it. But I spent 10 minutes talking about how much it didn't make sense, right? So I simply cannot say Jake Peetz is an utter disaster. Now, I'm not going to lie, I did laugh at the bottles of his own farts thing. That was kind of funny. But be honest, though, when you do fart, do you claim it? Jared the other day, Jared the other day in our live stream. By the way, Jared was in Baton Rouge and did not come to our meetup, but he did go to the LaBerge Casino. And Jared in the chat this past weekend said he crop dusted a bunch of Arkansas fans. Jared! So I'll say this. My girlfriend gets on me about this all the time, guys. All right. So I was at my best friend's wedding in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I was in the wedding. Okay. This was about a year or so ago. Guys, I just could not. And it was an outdoor wedding, so it made it a little better. I was just crop dusting the heck out of that place. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but it was visceral. Like it wasn't bubble guts. It was just for some reason, it was just there was nothing I could do about it. And Haley kept punching me. She was like, "All right, I know that was you. I know it was you." And I felt bad. I felt so bad. Now I don't know if anyone else, felt the wrath of that. But anyway, for all you crop dusters out there, don't do it. But at the same time, stay strong. Brady recommended Peetz because he has no experience and doesn't know anyone because he's never run an offense because 19 was the Insminger offense. Joe Brady didn't call a single play. And I think Joe Brady called some plays. Brady brought in some new concepts, but I have been told this quite a few times. I was told that Insminger called probably 70%, 70 to 80% of the plays. That's what it was said to me. Someone who would really know the answer to that question. So I've always abided by that. So yeah. Everyone loves their own brand. Oh man, I love it, Jared. I bet you the Burge was packed on Saturday night. It's I'll say this. My best friend, if he ever hears this live stream, he'll know. He was like, "That was you? That was you?" Because everyone thought it was my buddy Jake, but it wasn't Jake. Oh man, that was something else. You lost a 150 spot? Jared didn't come meet me in the flesh. And he went to the Burge. And Jared was supposed to come to the chicken and waffle party this past weekend that Cliff threw. And we did the live stream from Cliff's apartment. I sent Cliff's address for him to come hang out with me and Marcus. Who enjoyed Marcus and Cliff being a part of the live stream this past weekend? Neither one of them are here right now, but it was a lot of fun. And we had a chicken and waffle party. It was epic. It was pretty epic. And we had the Delpits batter. Shout out Delpits, Baton Rouge. Let's go. Yeah, Alex, life is about laughing. Oh, it is almost midnight. It's the late live streams, man. Jared, you were hammered. But Jared, but admit this, okay? There's nothing better than chicken and waffles if you're hammered. Nothing. I think chicken and waffles is a very underrated drunk food, right? So you're essentially getting like Pluckers and Waffle House, like all in the same thing. Jared, that would have been some crazy drunk food. Better to fart and feel the shame than not to fart and feel the pain. Tony! Tony's a funny dude, man. I love it. Danielle getting us back on track. We can't harp on QBs without the need to get into the portal for some O-line too. Got to give it to you, Danielle. You have been hammering this point so well. We have to give the quarterback time to breathe sometimes without Liam and Lab. It's true, Danielle. Blake was in here earlier, Danielle. And Blake and Blake called me earlier today, and I was going to talk to him about you, Danielle, and say, look, Blake, can't be taking Danielle. Danielle's a big part of the PHL Nation. She sent me a very generous super chat for me and Haley to enjoy some boudin. Billy's boudin. So, Danielle, when I talk to Blake tomorrow, I talk to Blake pretty often. I'm going to say, look, Danielle is PHL's finest. Not are you serious? Yeah, it's true. So, let me here's $5 for putting the idea of Plucker's chicken on a waffle and Waffle House in my head. This needs to happen. You did have 430 Waffle Hole, didn't you? So look, let me say this. I was a little disappointed when I went to Plucker's before I left Baton Rouge, and they don't do the 5-wing 3-tender combo anymore. Not gonna lie, I was really mad about that. Anyway, so first thing, I've got to show some serious love. This goes out to Jared for crop dusting Arkansas fans at Carter Crop Dusting and Arkansas Wedding. We lost a war, but won a few battles. And in Fayetteville. My buddies are going to catch this chat, and they're going to destroy me because everyone tried to figure out what was actually happening. That wedding was so much fun, though. It really was a great time. We have to give the QB time to breathe sometimes without Liam in lap. It's true. Okay. And I've said this from the get-go. It didn't ever make any sense that Ed Orgeron did not have a backup playing at center, right? I don't know how there's so many things that I question, right? And Mofucky, you and I have talked about this as well. Why did Joseph Evans ever get moved off the offensive line when we had plenty of defensive tackles that could play? Okay, so Master Blaster with the super chat. So let me finish with this. Danielle, I love Liam Shanahan. The dude has only gone out there and fought his tail off and played basically every snap he possibly could play. Once again, I go back to this. His hit he took versus Alabama is still the most gruesome hit I've ever seen an offensive lineman only miss one snap and get back on the field. It was that brutal. I've never seen that. I would think, and I know this sounds gruesome, I could see what happened to him could cost you a very, very serious injury. Liam's a tough son of a gun. Also, something else I give Liam a lot of credit for is that he has spoken in front of the media a lot. And I know that sounds like something that's not a big deal, but it is, right? There are people that are more that have been in the program longer than Liam, and he's the one who's had to speak on behalf of everyone multiple times while he was personally struggling, and everyone knew it. So the fact that they kept putting him out there in front of the media during his very difficult times, there's nothing worse than speaking to the media when you know you're the one that's stinking. It sucks. It really sucks. So Liam was never a center in my mind. I thought he could have played some other position. But I've never understood how LSU could not navigate around the Liam Shanahan issue. And it's still an issue to me. And I hated that the fact that this dude played really hard, but on basically every film study, it was a sore thumb, right? It just was. If a guy walks into a room and he has lime green polka dot hair, you're gonna, it's gonna be blatant. And there were times when Liam was getting blown into the backfield so often. And the Auburn game is obviously an example of this. I just had to keep pointing it out, and I hated it. And we just did not ever really figure out another option, and it put him in a bad spot and put everyone else in a bad spot. But your overall point, Danielle, was about the portal. You are right. We do need to get some offensive linemen in the portal and get them some playing time. I do think, Danielle, that Garrett Dellinger, though, getting these snaps is really good. Cardell had a very encouraging effort. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was a good super chat right there. Stop, JJ, stop. I want to go to Shreveport and tell you you're crazy for saying that. But it could be. You never know. You never know. I said this in the last live stream, and I got some hate for it. We're probably closer to Michigan than we are Alabama. 2019, I would say the opposite. I'd say we're closer to Alabama than we are Michigan. Okay? Michigan isn't bad, but I don't want to be Michigan. We definitely need to do a scheduled meetup next year. This time, let's all agree on the best game. Thoughts? Yes, Tony, we will do a better job of putting together a meetup. This was all short notice. And Tony, look, I hated it that you couldn't go because you do go to every game. And the one weekend I was there for a game was a weekend you weren't there. I did think about that a lot. So I hate it. I hate that I'm not going to get to meet the Master Blaster this year, but we will do better. And I'm thinking about doing, let me know if you guys would be interested in this. I'm thinking about doing an off-season meetup. I think that would be pretty cool, man. I could set something up. I could set up a comedy show. I could do, and there's a couple of ideas. So yeah, let me know if you guys think about that. Liam has a face for radio. I do too. If you knew how many times I've been told that in my radio career, I remember my grandmother would call me and say, Carter, you got a face for radio. And I would be like, and she would make that joke like once every like 6 months. She would call me and she would think it's the funniest thing in the world, but she's like just the sweetest lady. Calling me from New Roads, Louisiana. Shout out to my mom. Basketball meetup. I'd like to see Marlon get a start at center. Pro poker player. For next year, every team in the SEC has commitments to make the 14 on linemen. LSU has 4. Riri. Danielle sounds like a really cool mom. Danielle, man, you get some really good, some really good loving in this chat. I don't think Mick's in here to shoot a shot at you tonight. Danielle, you were so funny responding to that too. Oh my god, that was so wild. It really was. Oh man, do a basketball. If Roger picks me up, I'm down. Yeah, I'll definitely schedule something. I'm down to do something this summer. It was so much fun. I want Haley to be there though, because come on, it's a team effort. Haley's already asleep, and Z's in there crying. Let's see. So this is a good comment to follow up on Danielle's comment. So they've done studies on this, right? So what they found in the NFL, right, is quarterbacks the length at which they hold the ball is constant if they go from one team to another, right? So what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that certain quarterbacks hold on to the football too long no matter where they go, right? So it is true that Max Johnson having Liam Shanahan in his lap, having a rotating door on the offensive line, it does sink into the psyche of a quarterback. But Max Johnson misses so many throws on tape. It is an alarming amount of throws. Okay? Alarming. And I like Max, but it's a lot of throws. And honestly, it does make you wonder a few things, right? So I brought this up in this offseason, and I cited this earlier. So I talked about my deep dive on Garrett Nussmeier's high school stats, about how good Tony, get some sleep, man. It just happened to be that I was wearing your shirt tonight. I normally make sure I wear it once a month. Tony, I appreciate your support, man. And Tony, I know I could say this to you. You're a Christian, so make sure you keep Robert, Big Mac, who was in here earlier. He just had suffered a loss. Keep him in your prayers. So I've got to say this, okay? So for those that, I can say this. King Ulysses has sat and watched every one of our film studies. So I once again, my film studies aren't law, but you guys do know we do basically cover every single play or every single big throw. Okay, guys and gals, the Max Johnson throws is so ridiculous. Wait, what did Roger say? What did Roger say? Wait, what happened with Roger? Roger Dodger? Let me see. Did Roger Dodger say something? Roger, you okay? Let me see. I'm worried now. I'm down to hang. This is partially true as well. Every position group has gotten better this year except the QBs. True. It's true. Okay. Yes, Max versus throws, but Noah talks about most of the wide receivers outside of Besh get zero separation. Once Butte went out, Max started holding the ball longer. I actually disagree with this. I do. Max was holding on to the ball too long. In fact, he would have held on to the ball too long and miss Kayshawn from time to time. I do agree, though, Bruce, to a certain degree, that the wide receivers could do a better job of creating separation. But once again, the Arkansas game, Devonta Lee got a step on the same exact route, going up against the same exact corner, and Max missed him on 2 consecutive throws. So this is partially accurate. I do think so. Also, Jake Peetz says these corners know that we're running crossing routes. We don't run any outs. We just don't. We don't run a lot of out-breaking routes, and corners are just sitting on our crossers. And it happened on 2 separate 4th down plays where the corners were just sitting on our arterial routes, which is not good. You can't do that, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's an issue. It's an issue. But the point still remains the same. Max holds onto the ball too long, and he's missed a lot of open throws. You guys know that I cheer for these guys to succeed. You guys know I'm a huge Max guy. I pumped up Max this offseason. I thought a lot of these issues were going to be fixed with a fresh set of eyes, but they're not. They're simply not, right? And we go to this, right? The UCLA miss. I still think Max thinks about it a lot. That was, to me, one. I know this is going to sound very, very, very overstated, but that was one of the biggest misses I can remember in LSU history. The severity of the miss, how wide open the wide receiver was, how easy in the grand scheme of things that throw actually was, and he somehow undershot him. Max could have gotten the ball and just flipped it 60 yards in the air and Trey still would have been open and caught it and ran for a touchdown. He was that open. There was no one there. They brought a zero blitz, but they brought 9 guys. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen. God, it was one of the worst misses. And I cheer for Max. I think the best thing for him is to not start this next game and start Nuss. And let's see what Nuss could do as the full-time starter. Probably wouldn't be that great, but we have to at least see and let Max get a full game on the bench. But God, it was man, that UCLA miss, it was man. Mm, mm. That would scar me if I ever missed a wide receiver that open. And once again, I still stand by this. I think Max can be a 9 or 10 game winner in the SEC. I really do. Plus, also, I do think this is true. I just think experience matters so much for college QBs. I really do. Look, everything's so complex. You're a college student, so you're having to study your studies and then at the same time study your playbook at the most cerebral position by far in this sport while your brain is still forming. Your brain doesn't quit forming until the age of 25, studies have shown. And yeah, it's just so much. It's so much being a good quarterback. And if you have physical limitations, you have to be able to master, all the ins and outs. And it's just not there. And part of it is weird because a lot of Max's throws, he makes the right decision. Like he has his head in the right place. He just doesn't pull the trigger. Like how many times have you seen that where he's looking at the guy and he just doesn't throw it? I thought so too, King Ulysses. To a certain degree, like I know I did a Miles Brennan week, and I was perfectly fine seeing Miles run whatever the Pete's offense was going to look like. But I also think because the offensive line was going to struggle, I thought Miles's running ability would be a difference maker as far as some zone read stuff. But I've always felt this way. Max isn't an elite runner, and the scary thing is I thought his scrambling game was going to be better. It's not. But sometimes you make, sometimes you miss. King Ulysses, you were on it. Max Toscano, my buddy, was on it. It was an issue. It was an issue. Three games. Huh? 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 Let's see. Master Blaster hears me be silent for 2 seconds. Then he goes to sleep. Tony, I've got to meet you, man. You're just such great energy. Let's see. I'm going to take a photo of y'all. I don't do this enough. I'm going to flip it. So rocking the 10. Carter with a 13. What's a 13? Well, what's a 13? What does that mean? Sib G, you're part of the Miles crew as well. Yeah, it does seem Miles is a little brittle. But Mo Funky did it. That's not that a few Canes boxes can't fix, man. I mean, come on. He had that NIL money. Oh, the iPhone. No, actually, this is a 12. If I had a few more super chats, I would have upgraded to the 13. Man, I love it, man. You guys want to see the new Tyrann Mathieu rookie? So as many of you know, I am just a Tyrann Mathieu collector. I'll still collect other LSU cards, but Tyrann is my guy. I just find his cards to be so cool because he's a freaking honey badger. Starting the 13 fund. I love it. So I got this card. Okay. I want you guys to guess how much I got this Rookie of the Year Contenders Tyrann Mathieu rookie card. Right? I want you to guess how much I got this card for. I love this card. I don't know why I think it looks so cool. I guess it's just the ticket look on it. By the way, I did release a new episode of my football card podcast. So if you like that kind of stuff, I'll happily link it here. $75, $100, $10. This card right here. Music's actually right. I got this card for 75 cents. This is one of his this is a insert, so it's not like a sought after card. It's not rare. But yeah. I freaking love it, man. I did get a really rare Tyrann Mathieu card not too long ago. It was a 1 of 1, and I had to get it. Right. So yeah, I don't make a lot of money on this channel. I decided to get that one card for myself. And honestly, I really do mean this, and she'll attest to this as well. Most of my money actually does go to Haley. I want to make sure she's living the funnest life she possibly can. And she is going to see Harry Styles for the second time in a month. Okay. And it's I don't get it. I don't know. I never was a huge music guy. All right. Adding to the 13 fund. Good night, fellas. Free to fart it up now that the only lady is leaving. Oh man. Yeah, I forgot. we everybody just cropped everyone just crop dust the whole world right now because Danielle's leaving. Let's all act like the savage men that we are. Danielle's made this channel so much better with her cleverness. Oh man. Yeah, Danielle, you know what's funny? You're not the only lady watching this. All right. Normally Haley will peek in. Paris isn't here tonight. So yeah, I mean, you and Paris, Leslie, she doesn't comment all that much. So shout out to Leslie D. Yeah, I mean, we have a fair amount of female viewers, but Daniel, you and Paris are definitely the best chatters. Huh? Jared says we didn't stop farting because you were here. Oh man, I love it. So good. You guys got to blame Roger for the farting discourse earlier. Danielle's great. Danielle's definitely got to be at the PHL meetup. Got to have Danielle. Gotta love it. You have to admit, some of our funniest viewers. Jared's certainly up there. The Master Blaster is up there. And Danielle, I would say, are the 3 funniest viewers. Let me see. Let me check in on the poll question. Billy Napier is not in my top 3. Okay. He's not. But I wouldn't mind him. It's funny. Searches don't ever go the way that you think they're going to go. Right? It's rare you get Kim Mulkey. It's rare you get your absolute perfect dream candidate. I think in a perfect world, Kim Mulkey's probably the number 1 candidate for most women's basketball programs. It's her, Dawn Staley, or Gino, right? So yeah, it's rare. You're not always going to get your number 1 candidate. Oh, Paris, JJ, I'm gonna have to get on Paris about this. Huh? I'm glad you told on Paris here. Is she? She's cheating on PHL, guys. I never thought that would happen. When you guys know when Paris jumps in the chat, everybody's like, "Holy crap, Paris is here!" Everybody goes crazy when Paris is here. So JJ, next time remind me of this. Because I can't have Paris going on Scone and T's post-game show. I can't have it. You guys know I can't have it. No, I've always said this about the post-game shows. There's a lot of people that do really good LSU content on YouTube and support them. Watch them. Just don't forget about me. Don't forget about the little guy. All right? No, but I've always said that. Danielle, she's a big supporter of Blake at Are You Serious? Leslie is a big supporter of Blake at Are You Serious? Jacob, a lot of people that watch his channel. That's the cool thing about YouTube. You can watch whatever video you want. Everyone has their own twist on whatever. So yeah, I just try and make mine as uniquely me as possible and try and do our best. Not a bad list right here, Tucker, Titus, Tucker, Napier, Aranda. It's not a bad list. Fire Mulkey. Huh? I don't think you can ever fire a coach that get introduced by Michael Jordan to the Basketball Hall of Fame before she ever started her tenure here. That's still wild. I couldn't imagine going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Michael Jordan's going to announce you. No big deal. No big deal. Biggest athlete of all time. No big deal. T-Bob's a legend, man. Moscona. Scone. You know, it's funny. I have a lot of respect for Scone. I really do. I mean, so I actually do what Scone does every now and then. I do a 3-hour solo radio show, right? There's a lot that goes into it. It's really hard. And look, to do it in a market like Baton Rouge, it's really, really hard. So I give Scone a lot of credit. I mean, it's such a arduous task to do that every day for 3 hours. He's good. There's no other way around it. He's really, really good. Oh, he's the best, Jared. I wish one day I just need to play the old me and T-Bob tapes. Our podcast was a lot of fun. It really was. And it meant a lot. You know, T-Bob and I don't talk that much anymore, but he did call me the other day and we spoke for about an hour, and then I went on off the bench. It was really cool. It was really cool. Mario and Musso support those guys, man. It's wild that they have that slot at such a young age. They're both so talented. So support them. I support them. Anytime they ask me to come on, I stop what I'm doing. I say yes, right? I'm always going to support those two. And I think their show is going to turn out being really good. It's good right now. Can we read anything into Kiffin not getting an extension yet? Not really, Grant. I don't think. No, I don't think so. Good question. Welcome to the channel. Number one, I love the avatar. Everyone, welcome Pinkman12. We haven't had many first-time viewers in here. Welcome, Pinkman12. All right. Mr. Pink. I love it. Reservoir Dogs. Underrated movie. What happened to Cole Taylor? I know he's been struggling. So everyone welcome Pinkman. I love it. I do oh, you're a bot? You're a bot? You're a bot? There's no way you're a bot with that kind of photo. I was on Buddy's Sanji's show not too long ago. Oh, Buddy. I used to co-host with Buddy in Baton Rouge. Welcome to the show, Pinkman. Kenny Pickett you're out on Kenny Pickett because he throws with gloves. You must be out on Teddy Bridgewater too. Grant, I don't to answer your question again, I don't think you should look too far into it. We always want first timers questions to be answered. We want them to feel welcome. I've done a lot of, I've criticized Cole Taylor a lot. It's just he's not physical enough. The game moves too fast for him. I've always thought he was a year 3 guy. I wish him nothing but the best. I don't like being too critical of players unless it's a film study and you guys are looking at it. He missed a big block in the Arkansas game at the end where TDP couldn't pick up the first down. I know you're not a bot. We actually picked up some viewers from Grand Junction, Colorado, and I think I lost them all because, I did a deep dive this offseason about Cole Taylor's blocking, and I was one of the big voices saying we need Jack Bech to be our starting tight end before he ever played it down. Cole Taylor can't really block that well. Doesn't really give you a whole lot as a receiver. So it's kind of hard for him to be on the field. I like Cole a lot. He puts in work, but he's just not ready to play at the Division I level. And I think it's some of this, right? Colorado high school football is like not a powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, so I've been lucky to go to a lot of NBA games. I've been lucky to go to a lot of college games. I've been lucky to go to a lot of high school games, and I've gone as a fan, and I've also called a lot of games at the basketball and the football level. Okay, the biggest gap between the levels of every sport is not skill. It is not skill. All right. Yes, there are some people that are insanely skilled, like Steph Curry is insanely skilled. Insanely skilled. Okay. But there are plenty of people on Instagram that could make as many open threes as Steph Curry could make, right? There's all these basketball accounts that are just ridiculous out there now. These trick shots, these guys that don't miss, it's wild. The difference between the levels of every single sport is the speed of play. It is always been the difference. Okay? Your personal size, speed, and athleticism matters a lot. Your personal skill matters a lot. Those things you have to have. But the speed of play is the biggest difference. And it's not your personal speed per se, and it's not quickness either. It's how fast do you process information? How fast is your reaction time? And is the game just moving too fast for you? That's the big difference. And when I watch Cole Taylor play, I feel like I am watching a football player that's not necessarily unskilled per se. It's just the speed of it all is just too overwhelming, right? It's really hard. Some people can get it, some people don't. You want to know why Chris Paul is one of the greatest to ever, one of the best athletes during our lifetime? Well, yes, he's really skilled. Yes, he's really smart, but he just plays fast. If you watch him, he's just playing fast. And it's not like he's going like a gazillion miles per hour. It's just he is processing information so quickly, right? And Cole Taylor, it just seems the physicality and the speed of everything is just too much. It's not a knock on him. It's not, right? I couldn't play college ball, right? I struggled to play high school ball because I was very severely limited with speed, strength. I was short. So I tried to increase my speed of play, and I tried to be the smartest athlete I possibly could be, but it got to the point where everything just got too fast for me. And I was a decent high school athlete, but then I was like, okay, there's no way I could do any of what I did in high school at the college level. The SEC is different. I don't think the gap between the SEC and like the Big 12 is like just this gigantic gap, but I do think overall you are playing against a different type of athlete, oftentimes. But yeah, I wish Cole Taylor nothing but the best. I hope he succeeds. All right. But we'll see. Year 3, I've always thought year 3 was going to be his year. I've always thought it. And he's still only year 2 in his development. You never know what's going to happen. We're a strange bunch. I love it. Pinkman, welcome. Well, all right, guys. I'll hang out for a little bit longer. As always, I'll just give a little 5-minute warning here. I agree with you, Pinkman, on that. Just a little 5-minute warning here before we get out of here. If you do Venmo, Cash App, or Super Chat, I'll stay here all night long. right? But if you don't, I'll answer as many questions as I can in the final 5 minutes here. Okay? Darius Days for 3. What's good, Scrappo? It's all good, man. People get busy. Life happens. Don't ever feel bad about not. And I don't think you're necessarily feeling bad, but it's good to have you. All right, want to talk some LSU basketball? I'll happily talk some LSU basketball. I don't know a lot. I know Darius Days is good. Let me see. Let me pull up the roster. I'll talk about Ben Simmons if you want. I should call my buddy Aaron Torres, and he'd be my first ever guest on here. Okay, so Darius Days. 24.3 points per game. Dear Lord, Darius. But Efton Reed is pretty good this year, huh? Still so crazy Xavier Pinson's on this team. That's the young man from Missouri, right? So wild. Still cool. Jared, I love that you're a big basketball fan. That's so cool. It's funny, Jared. One of my buddies offered me a ticket to go on this past Monday night, but I had to come back home. This team is so long this year. We're going undefeated. I like it. Let's see. So yeah, I watched the Liberty game. It was a little bit closer than what the scoreline indicated, but that's good. You want some late game execution. I'll tell you this, right? So once again, I'm a big NBA guy. Don't like the way the NBA is structured, but I'm always going to be a big NBA guy. It is interesting that Cam Thomas has had like a good start in the NBA, but he wasn't, and he was an excellent college player. But LSU's team defense was so bad last year. Like, you could see it even early in the game versus I almost said Michigan. And we just weren't a good team defense last year. And even the Maryland game from the year before in the March Madness, our team defense wasn't great. So, versus Michigan, we just could not defend. We just gave up too many open shots, and eventually our shots were not going to fall and their shots are going to fall, right? So I do think just by losing Cam Thomas, yes, you're going to lose a scorer, but the defense is just simply going to be better without him, right? So we'll see. Roby's, I don't know what happened to Roby. He's normally in here asking me about the NBA questions. Oh, I gotta go run. I got so fat from this weekend, and I ate a Rotolo's pizza earlier today. Ugh, you could see my double chin. Look at that. Look at you talk about stacks. Look at the stacks on this chin. Mm, just I'm just fat. I'm fat. My soccer coach would make me run until I puked all the gumbo and boudin, and had Marcus treated me to some nice sushi this weekend. Are you kidding me? With the fougua, the goose balls, fougua. So yeah, Jared, I'll report back when I actually sit down and watch them play. And once again, I only caught the end of the Liberty game. Oh, I didn't see this. The Lakers arena is going to be the crypto.com arena. Oh, you don't want your comment on there? Which NBA player do you think would have had the best football career? Probably, I would probably say Westbrook, either as a safety or a slot receiver, right? It wouldn't be Braun; he's too tall, right? And it wouldn't be anyone like that. Same thing with Zion; their knees would get chopped down. It would probably be Westbrook. Zion would be a defensive tackle. All right, Simper, we'll see you. See you, JJ. Keep up the good work, man. Ooh, this is actually a good question. Deron Williams or Frank Gore? For those that don't know, these two fine gentlemen are boxing. These two ironic, borderline Hall of Famers in their own sport are boxing. I just don't think people understand like how freaky these NBA guys are. Like, I'll tell you this. Like for instance, like Deron Williams couldn't tackle Frank Gore, but Frank Gore couldn't ever beat Deron Williams in basically any sport, and I think that includes boxing. NBA guys are so much taller and so much longer than everybody else. They're aliens. They aren't like they aren't our species. So yeah, I'm gonna go Deron Williams. I mean, I, I'm guessing length, man. Frank Gore's definitely tougher, and he's not going to go down without a fight. But I would say Deron Williams. The NBA guys are so big, man. They're so much bigger than the NFL guys. I know that sounds strange, but they just are. Like they don't seem like real human beings. So yeah. Well, all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for making this one of the funnest live streams. It really was. We had a really good time. And we will see you tomorrow. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, I'm getting ready to post a blog on our Substack, powerhourlsu.substack.com. And we'll talk to you soon. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Oh, yeah, that deep dish pizza. Let's go.